Look at you, look at you. Another wonderful live studio audience here for All Access Pass. I'm your cruise host, Jason, and thank you so very much for coming up here in the Constellation Lounge to be with us. Now, today, well, I get to say this every day. It's kind of redundant when I say, today I have a legend, today I have a legend, because let's be honest, this whole cruise is absolutely full of musical queens and gods and kings and all the wonderful individuals that have, and goddesses, the people that have blessed us with their music for generations, and today is certainly no exception. This is some of the most soulful, the funkiest, the best music that's really ever been produced. We're going to welcome out here as a group, and then we'll get to know them a little bit. Please welcome out the mighty, mighty Commodores. Whack. Anyone you want, sir. Thank you for coming up. Appreciate you, sir. Anyone you want. Anyone you want, sir. Oh, my goodness. Join us. Come on in. Come on in.
We got a good crowd.
We got a nice little... I don't have a good crowd. You have a good crowd. I promise you. If I was interviewing myself, this would be a very different scenario here.
Well, I don't know that blonde out there said she can't.
The blonde lady came out. As a married man, I admire her, but no, can't go that route. First and foremost, thank you so much for taking your time to be on the disco cruise. I know you guys are undoubtedly busy out there these days, and it's an honor to have you with us, really, truly.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having
absolutely.
us. Thank you for having us.
Are you kidding me? JD, you might be sitting on your microphone.
No, sir.
Oh, you're not? Okay. Phew, I didn't want to get that sound bite.
If I was sitting on this, I'd be...
Yeah, I didn't want that sound bite. Yeah.
Everyone would know. He'd be smiling.
Yeah.
No. I'd be in excruciating pain, I'm sure of it.
It'd be Valentine's Day. First and foremost, how many dates a year do you guys still do? What are you doing on a typical calendar year now in terms of?
I think we're somewhere around in the 50, 55.
50, 55 dates
right.
a year still.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this as delicately as possible. You're the Commodores. You don't have to do that many dates. Why?
I've been telling them that for the longest. But Clyde, he just loves to be out there.
It's Clyde. It's all Clyde's fault.
Right.
Why? But seriously though, why 55 dates? Why not less? Or what drives you to that number?
I tell you what.
Please.
Is our manager here?
Yes, he is.
Do you need it?
Careful what you say.
Where is he?
He's not here anymore.
He's hiding.
Yeah, you know why he left? Because 55, 67 of dates. Too old to be on. Put your hands up. Excuse me while I sit back down.
I think, Jason, to answer that question, in a serious mode, I think that, we could be doing more days, but my goodness, we so enjoy what we do. I mean, that sounds a little bit cliche, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But even at our ages and stuff, we so thoroughly enjoy doing what we do. We enjoy this, where people actually come out and are interested in what we do in our profession, tell us how much they still love our music, and generally are concerned about the Commodores and how are we. They want to see us and see how we're doing. And as long as there are more people actually on stage, our mantra is, as long as there are more people in the audience than there are of us on stage, we'll keep doing this. But yeah.
It's the day you walk out to a two-person crowd that, all right, that's a good run, boys. Let's wrap it up. Well, if you don't mind, Whack, this is William King, by the way, right here on your far left. And let's take us all the way back to the Mystics and the Jays. Take us all the way back to, what is that, like 68-ish?
Yeah. I mean, we were, oh gosh,
well, tell us,
so young.
These folks might not know what the Mystics and the Jays means. Tell us a little bit about those early days. How did the Commodores become?
Well, okay, the first day it was almost like the first day we arrived on campus. We were freshmen at Tuskegee Institute, which is in Alabama. Actually, just about 10 or 12 miles from Auburn University. And Tuskegee is the most beautiful school you've ever seen in your life. It's just ivory everywhere and brick building. It's just gorgeous. And when I drove up on the campus, I literally leaned out the window because I had never seen that many pretty girls in my life. And I thought, thank you, Lord. I am right where I'm supposed to be. I have arrived. Okay. But about 3 or 4 months into that, around February, I ran into Lionel Richie and a guy named Thomas McClary in the wreck. We were just shooting pool, and we bumped into each other. And one guy said, "Well, what do you do?" I said, "Well, I play trumpet and keyboards." And Richie at the time said, "Well, I play saxophone, and I can play a little keyboards." And the other guy said, "Well, I play guitar." We said, "Well, why don't we do something, get together, and just go get together and have some fun?" We said, "Okay." So we got a little room down in the cafeteria, below the cafeteria, which had a one-door in, cement walls, and those light bulbs with the little pull string on them?
Click.
Yeah. You know you're telling your age now, right? So with the pull string. And so it was hot as the dickens in that room. But we crammed a set of drums in there, and we got some other people to play, another guy to play bass, and we called ourselves the Mystics. And I don't remember how we got that name, but we called ourselves the Mystics, and we were just practicing because we wanted to do two things. That was play music and meet girls.
Get girls, yep.
There was no other agenda on our plate.
At least you were focused.
It wasn't about college. It wasn't about studying. It wasn't about anything else. That was it. It wasn't even about a career. Okay, we weren't thinking further
That's
ahead.
a long way out. Yeah, that's a long way out.
Too
Yeah,
far.
why concern yourself with down the road?
There's too many other things in front of us. You know what I mean? And so we did. We started playing little places around the place, and then one day this guy came up to us and said, "Look, I'm a member of the Jays." Now the Jays was the number one group in the area. They were like the big boys, okay? But they had a fight, and they decided that they were going to split up. So they asked us to come in and take the place of the guys who were leaving. So that's how the Mystics got into with the Jays. But then we decided we needed a new name. It wasn't going to be the Jays. So they literally took me, blindfolded me, took a dictionary, and they said, whatever you land your finger on, just flip the pages.
That's
That's going
dangerous.
to be the name of the group. Now remember, there were groups out there like Led Zeppelin, the Beatles. So we wanted some kind of crazy name. We thought we'd come up with something wild and, Anyway, flip the page and bam, it landed on Commodore.
Now tell him what was the name right underneath the Commodores.
Well, it was close to Commode, I can tell you that.
It's true.
Yeah, which probably would have fit us better at the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now what if you would have landed on that?
Well, we would have had to have been the Commodes.
Oh God.
Because
You know dang well you landed on Commodes, peeked out from that blindfold, and slid it up one word. You were like, hell no, I'm not going to be a Commodes for the rest of my life.
yeah, so, and some of the guys said, look, that's not what we want. That's too common, it's too plain. But then we said, look, we said, whatever we landed on, that's what it would be. So we pluralized it, and here we are today, the Commodores.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So fast forward a couple years for me, and you add the gentleman in the middle.
Right. Well, Walter was playing with another group at the time, and I mean within like a year or so. And our drummer at the time wanted to go into the Navy because his father had been in the Navy.
Yes, sir.
So we begged him and we cried, and grown men just crying and crying, trying to keep him there. And at the same time, we remember this guy that we had seen playing drums. Clyde had 2 bass drums, 8 tom-toms, 22 cymbals, and about 16 drumsticks in his hand.
Size matters.
Size matters. And I'm telling you, he was playing more drums than I ever seen anybody play in my life. And we remember seeing him one night. So when that drummer left, we immediately said, we got to get in touch with him.
And here you are.
And here he is today.
And here he is.
But we stripped him of those 2 toms. But he was the baddest drummer. During that period of time, he was probably in the top 4 drummers of the world. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's a testament. And before we dig into more Commodores, Lord, let's look slightly farther to your left. What is it? Mid to young 80s, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think it was like 83.
83? Yeah.
83,
84?
somewhere in there. But let me tell the story.
That handsome gentleman. Yes, please tell the story because it's a phenomenal
You don't
story.
want to know this story.
Oh, man.
He told it. Yeah, he told it last time on Soul Train.
I know, so I got to try to
we were
redeem
in England.
myself here.
We were in England. I got to talk loud to drown
Not true,
him out.
not true.
We were in England, and we were driving down the street in a limo, okay? And Clyde was on the outside, and we saw this grocery basket, you know, that you push with the wheels, running alongside with clothes and stuff in it. And so Clyde said, "Look out here, man, who is this? What is this?" So all of a sudden, we had this tap, 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 tap on the side of the car. Tap, 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 tap. So I said, "Clyde, don't let down your window, man."
Don't want to get robbed.
Don't let him in. Don't let him
let
in.
down your window, man.
Keep it up.
He let down his window, and all of a sudden, he stuck his head in the window and said, "I can sing." So,
All right. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Don't worry, you'll get a rebuttal. You'll get a rebuttal moment. Oh,
well, that's not quite how it went, but that's how I remember
but it sounds good.
That is close
But
enough.
I'll let JD tell how he came about.
JD, tell us the real story.
story is, I used to be in a band back in the late 70s called Heatwave.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
who I know are on the boat
Yeah.
with us. So long story short, we were just getting ready to come to America to promote a song called, it wasn't Always in Forever, Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights, yeah. And it started to move on the charts in America because we were all basically from England. There was 2 American guys in Heatwave, and our drummer was Czechoslovakian. Our original bass player was Mario Montiz, was from Spain. We had one guy for the West Indies. We had me from England. We were just a mixed race. And on the first album cover, Too Hot to Handle, they didn't even put our pictures. They just put Too Hot and a big sun because they were like, what do we do with these guys? There it is right there. And so
That's funny.
the Commodores were about to release a new record. They were well established in America at the time. And they were about to release a new single. I think it was 3 Times a Lady or something like that. And,
Something like that. Yeah.
One of those songs, yeah, one of those
song.
songs, yeah, there was so many of the hits. And we flew over to America to do Soul Train for the first time. So we did Soul Train, and the day we would do Soul Train, the Commodores were on also doing Soul Train. And that's how we first got together and met Heatwave and Commodores. And they asked us if we'd be interested in opening for them on their upcoming US national tour. And we were like, yes, you know, because
Of course.
that would have been a good thing for us, you know, obviously, for all the obvious reasons. So we went on tour with the Commodores at their request, and we opened their show, and that gave us the exposure that we needed to get, you know, our teeth in the business. So thank you for that, guys, again. And jump very quickly into how I got here is several years after that, Heatwave kind of disbanded, and around about that same time, Lionel exited the group. But we kept in touch, all of us, our ex-Commodores and Wack and Clyde. And one day I got a call from Wack saying, hey, you know, we're doing some auditions for another co-lead singer. And would you be interested? Because they'd seen my work in Heatwave. And I said, of course. And at the time, living in England, I was still living in England, and I wasn't in a band. I think I was working as a car salesman at the time. And they said, can you fly over? Because we're getting ready to go on this national tour, and we want to know if you come over and sing some songs and see if this can work out. So I dropped everything, flew over to America in 1983, and I never went home. And I've been with these guys since 1983.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And I've had the best time. These guys are just awesome. With the departure of Ronald LaPred and the passing of Mylan Williams and the departure of Thomas McClary, who were all in the group when I joined. It's the 3 of us now, and I'm having the best time. I love these guys. I thank them immensely for giving me the shot to come over to America and do what I love doing best. And I'm honored to, with these 2 guys, carry on the legacy of the Commodores. Yeah.
Great statement.
And let me tell you, I am still amazed at how he could run as fast as that car could drive and stay in tune.
Yeah. Your story was much more dignified, JD.
I tried to bring some dignity.
Yeah,
You know,
clearly. Try is the operative word, I think, with these gentlemen. Now, Clyde, you obviously co-wrote and/or wrote a lot of the biggest hits for the Commodores. Tell us a little bit about the writing process for some of those monster hits.
Okay, here we go. First one, I say, here we go. Well, I began as being a drummer, not with this group, many other groups. And and my biggest was like, I wanted to be like Buddy Rich. Yeah, drummer. And read, I know, I could read. So they had an audition, excuse me, an audition, and I heard about it. Okay, where is this audition taking place? So I just slid in, I found out. And they had some other guys, I do believe, right? Yeah, you know, other guys. And next. Next. And they looked at me. Man, this little chart.
That's not what we said. Go ahead.
It's probably less PC than that, I'm sure.
I sit down, and because I was taught, and he's still living today, by a gentleman named Mr. Billy Moore. And Billy Moore taught me everything that I know in drums. So I went in and I put my books up, reading my drums. Let's see. And we're looking at each other and I said, what's wrong with that? You don't have to read no music. You know, you have to learn the song. I don't have to read, but I've already charted. So I started, okay, whatever that drum, just say break out. Took it away. We don't do that in this band. Y'all don't read. Put it down and you got to play it from here. Play it from your heart. Make it up as we go. Make it up.
I am a trained musician.
What kind of band I'm getting into? Nevertheless, the rest is history. You know, it was very pleasant coming into this group. And as you can see us today, we're still jovial. And trust me, we're not just jovial in front of you. We are jovial all the time. It never shuts down. That is why we are still together.
That's why it works.
And that is, we don't do no drugs, musicians, none. No one really do any alcohol. I raised my hand, I'm guilty. I tried some moonshine one time. And
That's why the sunglasses are still on.
That's right. And that was the end of my career on that. After I went to the restroom to take a little more. And then, that was that moonshine. All of us are clean today from drugs.
That's wonderful.
That's it. That is, we tell the story because that is really the way that it is. And in Commodore country.
It speaks to longevity. You know, there's a lot of bands that went real hard.
Oh, yeah.
They went real hard, and they flamed out real hard from going too hard, too fast, too soon, and too big, you know, and unfortunately, a lot of those folks aren't with us anymore. So I know I speak on behalf of everyone. I say thank you for you to still be with us. Bless you.
Oh, yeah.
Bless you all.
Now, one other thing. Now,
Please.
These two, this gentleman, chasing the girls.
Oh, wait.
Now, see, now they won't be to wait.
That's hard when you got a shopping cart.
You do know I just got married last month, right?
No more. I will say no more.
I mean, look, see this?
I love that. He just throws you in the deep end and then he walks away. Meanwhile, his lovely wife is sitting right there.
Lovely wife is sitting over there.
And because my better half is at home and your wife is right
your
there.
wife is sitting
His
over
wife
there,
is
too.
right there. And so, what are you
trying to
trying? You
shut him
just
down.
said you just said we were jovial all the time. That's not jovial.
Did you see how defensive JD and Wack got in that moment? No, shut up. What are you talking about? Hey, baby, I love you. I'm right here. That's fine.
Wait a minute.
Trying to put laundry out on the streets out here, Clyde. Come on.
Jeez.
So, yeah, woo! It got serious quick, didn't it? Got serious
Some of that
quick.
over here. Keep it going. Give me some of that.
You guys had, the Commodores in general had obviously some of your biggest just monster hits in the early days.
Oh, yeah.
But the Grammy
Yes.
came with the three of you
That's right.
for Night Shift. Tell us a little bit about that
I'll tell you,
process.
that was such a surprise to me in both ways. I think, Clyde, we worked all those years. I mean, at one time, we were number one in nominations, but not winning.
Yeah.
I think Diana Ross is not
It was
now
like
number
78,
one.
79, 80, 81,
81, 82. I mean, think about it.
it.
We had Sweet Love, Lady Bring Me Up, Brick House, Sail On, Easy, Three Times a Lady, and a number of other songs. We were all nominated for, but we didn't win anything.
Well, it went like this.
There's a bunch of
And
bridesmaids.
the winner is. And the winner is. The winner is, and we all said
Halfway to the podium.
And this is true.
And the winner
Absolutely
is
true.
somebody else.
Yeah.
What? You have to pull Clyde back.
Oh,
it's not us.
man.
It's not us.
It was absolutely horrible.
But it finally got around to it.
Yeah.
What's it like hearing your name?
Well, I'll tell you.
I blacked out.
It got to the point, you're going to the Grammys. No, I'm not going to the Grammys, but you're supposed to be. You're in this group. You want to stay in this group. I think, well, I just don't want to go to the Grammys. We don't win anything. We don't win anything. No respect. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. No respect.
Let me cut
The
in
winner
here. Go ahead.
is the Commodores. All of us threw our mics up. And
I actually, I had these rented shoes on.
Rented shoes.
I had these rented, because you rented your tux. We didn't own a tuck back then,
Oh, boy.
So I actually, the shoe was a little bit big for my foot. And when they said Commodores, I had to think for a moment, and then I jumped up. Yeah, and my shoe went up under the seat.
And he literally did. He did this. Two things about that night I remember, Grammy night. One was you going on stage shoeless, right? And his shoe actually finished up underneath Ella Fitzgerald's feet. All right? Lovely Ella, she got his shoe out. When we came back to her seat, she said, "Here, son, here's your shoe." And the other thing that I remember is that when we all walked up the stairs and walked onto the stage, and I think it was Rick James or somebody was giving us the Grammy, they all stood back, all the Commodores, and they pushed me and said, you take that Grammy. And they gave the Grammy to, now I was expecting to get run over by these guys to get that Grammy. And they so gracefully just said, JD, grab the Grammy. It's yours, you take it. And they just let me hold it while they gave their speeches and allowed me to hold the Grammy when any one of them deserved it 1,000 times more than, to have it in their hand. So I thought that was awesome. I knew I was going to be cool in this group. It was going to be a good time in this group because they showed me their colors that early on.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well,
But then, listen to this. After that, you turn around and sold this Grammy, $50.
well, he's been in a shopping cart. He had all his clothes in it. I mean, he clearly needed the cash. That's a valuable little trophy. I understand, JD. I get it, JD.
After I did that, I was able to put some rims on that car.
He had the nicest Target shopping cart in the building. So, Night Shift originally is a tribute song.
That's right.
And it continued to be a tribute song to some of your favorite. Tell us a little bit about how Night Shift came to be and what it meant to you then and what it's continued to mean to you now with other artists passing.
Walter wrote that. Well, we call him Clyde, Walter.
Clyde.
We go back
Orange.
and forth with names, yeah. Each one of us has like 5 names. But anyway, Walter wrote that, so I think he should.
Please,
should be.
yeah.
But let me say this: when it came in, it was an "Oh Baby Baby" song. And that, to us, what that means is it's like a love song. We call them "Oh Baby Baby" song because it was so. When you have 6 guys writing, you get to categorize certain songs. You know what I mean? So anything that was slow and talked about love or the good, we call it an old baby baby song. But anyway, Clyde,
Night shift, right?
night
Yes,
shift.
sir.
Okay. Growing up, as I might have said earlier, I love R&B pop. James Brown and Jackie Wilson and a host of others. But nevertheless, Marvin Gaye and Jackie Wilson, I do believe, right?
Yeah.
One, two. Marvin Gaye and Jackie Wilson was among the Beatles and a few others. They was just top notch to me. You know, girls would scream over when Jackie Wilson come out and also Marvin Gaye. Oh, Jackie, Jackie. See, well, let me see what can I write. Something. And I said, now, night shift. You know, when we always playing, you know, at night. We don't play during the day. It's weird. Nevertheless, I came up with a night shift. Now, who, one or two, or four of my favorite artists, Marvin Gaye and Jackie Wilson. And I sat down and I started writing. Marvin, he was a friend of mine. He could sing a song as hard in every line. Jackie, your love is keeping me higher. That's how it all came about. And then it turned out to be a Grammy.
Yeah, that's what.
A Grammy.
You remember you won for that one? Yeah, that was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's-
yeah, we won that. And it's I can't even explain. It's so mysterious. It's like, and people, when we won that Grammy, it was Ella Fitzgerald. That's it.
Tuesday.
And when we won,
You gave me my shoe back.
yeah.
Can you imagine Ella Fitzgerald giving you your shoe?
And probably looking you up and down while she did it. Just.
Let me tell you, man, that's incredible.
I'm telling you, it is.
I'm surprised she didn't throw it at you because you stood on her foot when you to get over to get to the stage.
Well, she had big feet.
Oh, come on. Let's move on.
Well,
Please.
with Night Shift as well, if I'm not mistaken, and forgive me, I'm sure this is a raw memory, and I apologize for that. But you were on stage the night we lost, or when you were told that we lost Michael.
Yeah, we were in England.
You were in England, and when you found out when you walked off stage, correct? And so you actually were back on stage within the next night or two, and that's when you started to include names of artists that you loved so much, and that's how Night Shift became a tribute song more and more, as it originated with Marvin and Jackie, but
Right.
with Michael and other artists you've
Right.
lost.
I remember that night well. And we were playing the Wembley Arena in London, and Michael had passed the night before, and we were doing 2 shows at the Wembley Arena. And the second night we came out, we just found out that Michael passed. And when it was the second verse where I would come in after Clyde and sing, Jackie, he was a friend of mine. Jackie, hey, what you doing now?
Can't remember the lyrics.
Michael just came to my head, and instead of saying Jackie, I just said, Michael, he was a friend of mine. And the crowd, it was 15,000 people in at Wembley Arena, and they just went crazy. All those English fans,
Sure.
it just reminded them.
That had to
they
punch you
just-
back on
it
stage,
did,
too.
yeah.
That had to hit you back.
It did. And it was just something that just came. It just came to us.
Stay with your microphone, JD.
I'm
The
so
people
sorry.
want to hear you.
It just came to us.
One.
Okay.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And if I'm not mistaken, you've continued to use it as somewhat of a tribute song, correct?
Yes.
As friends that you've lost and artists,
Yes.
wonderful artists, you will insert names, and
Yes.
that's
Right. I know every night he says, he names Aretha and
Yeah.
Whitney and
Michael.
and just a lot of people who
Yeah.
passed on.
Yeah.
And it's always amazing to me when I really think about those people that are not here.
yeah,
You know,
It's like they're still here.
that's a lot
Yeah.
of talent. That's a
And
lot
that's a
of
lot
God's
of
gift.
talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
Luther.
know, I mean, real talent, man.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody was using iTunes on them. I mean, trying to tune their vocals and stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, you went in that studio and you had to get it right. You know what I mean? And I can remember us being in there all night long.
Well, the drum machine and all that
Oh, yeah.
didn't exist.
It didn't exist.
You know, and
Yeah.
I hated what we
Yeah,
had to do, play
it was-
live
it was-
in the studio, because I hate making mistakes.
Yeah.
I know we are all human, but I hated making mistakes.
But that's why you're the
And
Commodore.
then, one, all right. Now, Brother Clyde, call me Clyde. Put your earphones on, you know, and put them on. All right, here's a tick, tick. I'm sticking one. Ding, 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 ding.
Stick on the ground.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nevertheless, I got over it.
Yeah, it was.
And I got over it this way. James Carmichael said, Clyde, who's the drummer in the group? I looked around. I'm the drummer. Well, guess what? But, yeah, I know what you're going to say. But, you see, Jameson, you see all these other drummers come in. Who's the drummer in this group? I'm the drummer. You're going to do the session. You're going to play. But I'm not professional. You are going to play. And here I am today, singing, I'm not the drummer in the group. Go figure.
I did notice that Wax said that at the time you were one of the top 4 in the world.
yeah.
At
Oh,
the
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I tried to be.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he was an incredible drummer. I mean, he was a jazz drummer and big band drummer that we had to bring back into what we were doing. But he was hardly. He's the only music major in the group. But all of us, because all of us was into other things.
Girls.
And, yeah, well, that too. And so
GIRLS.
we keep coming back to that, don't we?
You know, just to interject, I know you may have this written down, Jason, I don't know, but
probably don't.
in case we run out of time, there's one story that we tell each other in the band over the years, and that is how you guys, your inception, went out and was introduced to the world, you know, after you'd signed to Motown with the Jacksons.
Yeah.
So I think
That's
I
actually
think
great.
That was our.
We
that
are
was our
at
big-
time, but I tell you what, let's tell that story. I think
Yeah.
I think they've earned that story. We'll
I
go a
think
little
they'd
bit
like
over
to,
with
I
that
think
story.
they'd like to hear that. It's
Well,
a great
it
story.
was-
70, early 70s?
Yeah, it was
72?
71, somewhere in there. And we were actually in New York City performing, and our manager knew a young lady named Suzanne DePaz, which became president of Motown's television and movie division. But at the time, she was about 18 years old. And she saw us performing there and asked us, you know, she said, you guys are pretty good. Would you guys like to, you know, open up for one of our major acts? So we said, Motown? Sure. So she left, and we didn't hear from her for about 4 or 5 months. And eventually we got a call back from her, and she said, we would like for you to come to L.A. Barry Gordy wants to see you and to see if you can, you know, stand up to the fact of the act that we want to go out with the Jacks, with one of our acts. And so we said, well, who is the act? And they wouldn't tell us. So when we got out there, we found out it was the Jackson 5. And we did the very first tour the Jackson's 5 ever did, and we were with them about 2.5 years. And we went, our first tour was like 42 dates in something like under 50 days. I mean, it was just bam, bam, bam. We went from New York all the way to Hawaii. And it was an incredible tour. Those kids were the best. I've never seen a show like that before in my life. Okay, they were such an incredible family. Of course, Michael was just like, you know, I mean, he went on that, he was only like 11 or 12 years old, 10, something there. But when he walked on, and he was about that high, but he was about that big. And yeah, and he walked on that stage, he grew 10 feet tall. And his brothers were just right there. They were solid as a rock. They were routining, and at that time, we didn't have wireless microphones. So whenever they would do all the spinning and things, the wires would wrap around them, right? And then they'd have to spin, and then they had the routines when they spin back out of it.
Unravel back out.
Unravel the microphone. If you see any of the old filmage, watch for that, okay?
I'm telling you.
Yeah, and so, of course, you know, we follow right behind them, you know what I mean? We spin right into it and spin right back out. But they were incredible, and they were encouraging. And I'm telling you, it's the best show to this day.
Yeah.
They sang, yeah, exactly. They sang your praises today when I was talking
They said
to
about us.
Marlon, Tito, and Jackie.
I just saw
Tito
them-
and Jackie specifically, I mean, Marlon was agreeing with him, but Tito and Jackie specifically spoke to touring with
Well,
you
we
guys and
appreciate
what
it.
it meant to them.
We have the most fun. We work with them on occasion during the year on select dates, and they are like you just said, they were always there. Those brothers are still right there to this day. They have
That's
a wicked
wonderful.
show. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure you have. And if you haven't yet, go see him.
Some
'cause
of
I'm
them get
going
it
back to
tonight.
see him tonight.
Yeah.
Love the Jacksons. God bless them, and they're still here, laying it down. And my goodness.
Well, I feel like we could sit here and chat for an hour, but this is a TV show, so we got to wrap things up. Here's the deal, though. I've spoken to the gentlemen, and they have graciously agreed. They are going to sign some autographs. So, yeah, absolutely. We're not going to rush the stage. We're going to sign out there as soon as the show's over. Do me a favor, as loud and as proud as you can. Help me thank the mighty, mighty Commodores. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.